เมื่อกี้ที่พาไปดูนะคะ
What we saw earlier was the coral nursery, where we are rehabilitating the juvenile coral that we've cultivated. That area had experienced significant degradation before, likely due to bleaching or other impacts. So when we noticed the degradation there, we took the juvenile coral we've been nurturing, which are about 3 to 5 years old, and we used them to replenish the area. This way, we aim to establish a new coral reef there.
สร้างแนวปะการังขึ้นมาใหม่
Hello and welcome to WION live broadcast from London. I'm Oliver Regan and these are the headlines. Enforcement Directorate presents the arrested Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal before a special court in New Delhi and demands a 10-day custody in the alleged Delhi liquor policy scam. United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrives in Tel Aviv, Israel, on the final stop of his 6th urgent trip to the region since the start of the war. European state leaders discussed hot-button issues including defence policies and support for Ukraine at an EU summit that opened in Brussels. Attacks, including a shooting that left a gang leader dead, flare in Haiti's capital Port-au-Prince, as political groups appear nearer to finalising a transition council to take over from an absent government. Apple CEO Tim Cook opens Apple's newest store in China's Shanghai in front of a large crowd. Well, our top story is from India, where the Delhi Chief Minister has been arrested and produced before the court. My colleague Mohammed Saleh has got more on this, so we'll cross over to him now. Well, our top story today is from India, where the Delhi Chief Minister has been arrested and produced before the court. My colleague Mohammed Saleh has got more on this, so we'll cross over to him now.
Thank you very much, Oliver. Now, this, of course, is nothing short of a political earthquake that has been witnessed, where India's corruption watchdog, the Enforcement Directorate, has now demanded for a 10-day custody of the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal after he was presented in a special court. The Delhi Chief Minister, remember, was arrested last night from his official residence in connection with the excise policy scam. And just moments ago, Arvind Kejriwal was produced before a special anti-money laundering court. In the hearing, which is still underway, the central agency has accused Arvind Kejriwal of being the kingpin and the key conspirator for the alleged multi-million-dollar liquor policy scam. Now, the Enforcement Directorate has said that the party used over 450 million Indian rupees, which were the proceeds of the alleged crime in the Goa election campaign. Now, Arvind Kejriwal and also some of the other top leaders of his Aam Aadmi Party have been accused of getting kickbacks from liquor wholesalers in exchange of formulating a favourable excise policy in the year 2021. All right, now to give us more updates in terms of what, of course, is happening with this legal hot potato of a case, we're being joined by our correspondent Dharamjot Kaur, who's joining us live on this broadcast. We also have Siddhant Sibil, who's getting us the latest on this story as well. Dharamjot Kaur is joining us from outside the Avenue Court complex in New Delhi, and Siddhant Sibil is, of course, at the ITO in New Delhi, where the Aam Aadmi protesters have, of course, been out since morning. But Dharamjot, let me in fact start with you. Now, we are hearing that Arvind Kejriwal is in fact at the court this time. What more can you tell us in terms of what is happening on the legal front in this case?
The hearing is currently going on in the court complex behind me. So at the moment, the Assistant Solicitor General is presenting the case in which the ED is demanding 10 days of remand to keep the Chief Minister in custody and begin the formal process of questioning Arvind Kejriwal. The Solicitor General is producing all valid arguments that they've been making for all these days now. So far, there were 6 charge sheets that were filed. However, the charge sheets only listed the name of 31 accused. The Delhi Chief Minister is the 32nd person to be accused, and he's also being called the mastermind of the entire alleged excise policy scam case that is currently making headlines. Now, we're yet to hear in terms of the verdict or the ruling that the district court bench will pass in terms of how many days remand will they grant to the probe agency. That is yet to be decided. The arguments are still being presented in court, and we're still awaiting details in terms of what happens next for Delhi's Chief Minister. Saleh?
Absolutely, indeed. Dharamjot, do stay on with us. But Siddhant, let me bring you in on this. You're at this moment at the ITO, where we're given to understand that a number of Aam Aadmi supporters have in fact joined there. Tell us what's the scene there. All right, we seem to have lost the line with my colleague Siddhant Sibil there. We'll try reconnect with him in just a bit. But Dharamjot, if I can come back to you now, this is going to be an extremely crucial moment, considering that the Aam Aadmi Party has said that Arvind Kejriwal, the sitting Chief Minister of New Delhi, who was arrested yesterday evening, will continue to remain as the Chief Minister of Delhi. And according to the Aam Aadmi Party leaders, he will run the administration of the national capital, New Delhi, from inside of the prison. How viable is this, given that this is going to be the first time ever that a chief minister who leads a government behind bars will be running the administration of such a large region such as New Delhi?
Well, Saleh, this is indeed a very unprecedented situation. It's not something we have seen before in India. But as I have been discussing since morning with our fellow colleagues here in the studio, the lines are very blurry in terms of provision that the prison manual has for a sitting chief minister or a government official to carry out his duties in official capacity from behind bars. The only caveat that we are aware of so far is that of the President of India and certain state governors who have, a leeway in terms of carrying out their responsibilities from prison in case such a situation arises. But for a chief minister and for other political leaders or state leaders, there is no such provision. Other things that also need to be taken into consideration is the viability factor over here, as you mentioned. Now, even though the party is saying that Arvind Kejriwal will continue to be the minister and head the state going forward, there are a lot of administrative issues that the party may face in the coming days. For example, the prison manual has a very clear caveat that you cannot sign any papers or official documents. The process of signature is not allowed from behind the prison bars. However, the leader will be allowed to meet certain individuals and hold meetings for a certain period of time on a daily basis. Now, given these particular limitations, the lines, once again, they're very blurry in terms of how Arvind Kejriwal will carry out his duties, to what capacity he can do that, and
Right.
somebody else in his place outside while Arvind Kejriwal remains in prison. Saleh?
Absolutely, indeed, Dharamjot. That's of course something that we will have to witness as to how things unfold. But the details that are coming in is that Arvind Kejriwal has, of course, spent his first night in a small lockup, which had about 2 mattresses on the floor. This is basically what is being reported. Thank you very much indeed, Dharamjot Kaur, for joining us and getting us all those details now. And let's now go across to my colleague Oliver Regan, who is at this moment in London, and he'll of course be taking us further with all the updates. Over to you, Oliver.
Thank you. The foreign and defence ministers from Australia and the United Kingdom have pledged to continue working to support Ukraine and peace talks in the Israel-Hamas war, as well as enhancing their presence in the Indo-Pacific region. This after both countries signed a defence and security cooperation agreement. Australia's Defence Minister Richard Marles and Foreign Minister Penny Wong and their counterparts David Cameron and Grant Shapps met in Adelaide for the annual Australia-United Kingdom ministerial consultations. Inking the Statutes of Forces agreement yesterday, Australia announced that it would spend billions on docks, shipyards and factories at home and in Britain for nuclear-powered submarines under the AUKUS Security Pact. It also named Britain's BAE Systems to help build the boats. At the meeting, both countries agreed to continue working to support Ukraine, peaceful settlement of Israel-Hamas conflict.
We share a pretty concrete and clear plan of action that we're going to support Ukraine, as you've just said, in its vital fight in resisting Russian aggression. That we're going to work together as we try to stabilize the Middle East, as we try to get aid into Gaza and try to bring about a solution to that conflict.
I echo David's comments about the importance of increased humanitarian aid, the need for that for Israel to allow that aid to enter, the importance of fighting to cease to enable that aid to flow. And we also spoke about how recognition could assist in giving momentum towards lasting peace.
When asked whether the election of Donald Trump would endanger the AUKUS military alliance, British Foreign Secretary David Cameron said the United Kingdom would work with whomever becomes the US president in November.
What I would say is that whatever relationship we're talking about, whatever part of the enterprise that we are involved in, whether it is AUKUS, which I think is an absolutely brilliant arrangement, or whether it is NATO's arrangements, the most successful defensive alliance in history, all of those things, I think whoever is president, the best thing we can do is to get those alliances, to get those projects into the best possible shape. So whoever is the new president can see that they're working with a very successful set of arrangements.
Ukraine has said Russia launched the largest missile and drone attack on its energy infrastructure to date, hitting the country's largest dam and causing blackouts in several regions. Russia attacked electrical stations throughout much of Ukraine, including the country's largest hydroelectric station, causing widespread outages. Attacks on energy facilities in the Kharkiv region caused blackouts. And other areas under attack were reported in areas of western Ukraine, far from the front line. The Ukrainian Air Force have said Russia fired 88 missiles and 63 Shahed drones, of which only 37 and 55 were shot down respectively. The state's hydropower company, Udrhydrono, said that the Dnipro HES dam in the southern city of Zaporizhzhia suffered strikes to its hydraulic structures and the dam itself, but there was no risk of a breach. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the attack, saying that there was work underway to repair the power supply in 9 regions. Meanwhile, at least another 2 people were killed and another 8 injured in the western Ukrainian city of Khmelnytskyi in Russia's mass overnight attacks across Ukrainian territory. A video showed rescuers carrying away an injured person found underneath the rubble of a destroyed building. A political understanding has reportedly been reached between Yemen-based Houthis and Russian and Chinese diplomats meeting in Oman. Speculation suggests Moscow and Beijing promised further political support to the rebels, including possibly blocking resolutions at the UN Security Council. According to Bloomberg, Houthis have told China and Russia their ships can sail through the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden without being attacked. The Oman talks underscore the increased nervousness among world powers about the rebels' missile and drone attacks in and around the Red Sea. Both China and Russia are diplomatic and economic partners of the Houthis' main military and financial backer, Iran. The Red Sea is a key route linking the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean Sea. Around 20,000 ships pass through the Suez Canal each year. According to the International Chamber of Shipping, a London-based trade association for shipping firms, 12% of global trade passes through the Red Sea. The Houthis, who control much of Yemen but are not recognised internationally, say they're targeting vessels to pressure Israel over its war with Hamas in Gaza. Last week, the Financial Times reported the US had held secret talks with Iran in a bid to convince Tehran to use its influence over the Houthis to end attacks on ships. The indirect negotiations, during which Washington also raised concerns about Iran's expanding nuclear program, took place in Oman in January. Omani officials shuttled between Iranian and American representatives, so they did not speak directly. A second round of negotiations was scheduled for February, but was postponed. The Houthi attacks show no sign of abating, despite the increased international presence in the region. It's full-blown war between the US Federal Trade Commission and tech giant Apple. The US antitrust agency has decided to sue Apple for alleged violation of antitrust laws. While Apple has denied any wrongdoing, the US FTC's latest move is part of its larger crackdown against tech monopolies. Watch this report for more updates.
It's employed a strategy that relies on exclusionary, anti-competitive conduct that hurts both consumers and developers.
U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland announced a landmark lawsuit against Apple on Thursday, accusing the iPhone maker of violating federal antitrust law by monopolizing the smartphone market.
Apple has consolidated its monopoly power, not by making its own products better, but by making other products worse.
The lawsuit, brought by the Department of Justice and 15 states, alleges that Apple hurt smaller rivals, and that it charges various business partners behind the scenes in ways that ultimately raise prices for consumers and drive up Apple's profits.
If left unchallenged, Apple will only continue to strengthen its smartphone monopoly. But there's a law for that.
Garland outlined a variety of allegations, including that Apple made it more difficult for competing messaging apps to work smoothly on its phones.
If an iPhone user messages a non-iPhone user in Apple Messages, the text appears not only as a green bubble, but incorporates limited functionality. The conversation is not encrypted, videos are pixelated and grainy, and users cannot edit messages or see typing indicators. As a result, iPhone users perceive rival smartphones as being lower quality because the experience of messaging friends and family who do not own iPhones is worse, even though Apple is the one responsible for breaking cross-platform messaging.
Garland said the aim of the lawsuit is to free smartphone makers from Apple's anti-competitive behavior, bring down phone prices and developer fees, and preserve innovation. Apple denied the government's allegations in a statement, adding that if the DOJ's lawsuit is successful, it would, quote, hinder our ability to create the kind of technology people expect from Apple, where hardware, software, and services intersect. The lawsuit